Today we're joined again by Jonathan Deal from Safe Citizen, and we are going to be unpacking the latest developments around the Firearms Control Amendment Bill and what the latest developments behind the scenes at NEDLAC are, and how that concerns not only every firearm owner in this country, but every citizen. There are growing concerns about who is being consulted, how decisions are being shaped, and whether the process is as transparent as it is supposed to be. If you're a lawful firearm owner or simply care about how legislation is formed in South Africa, this is a conversation that you cannot afford to miss. Jonathan, good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel.
Nice to be with you again, Riaan. Thank you.
So, since our last conversation, I think I'd like you to just bring everybody up to speed. What exactly has been happening behind the scenes at NEDLAC with this FCA amendment bill, and why should ordinary firearm owners be paying close attention at this time?
Riaan, I think that I'd like to start with the back end of your question first. And this is not only a concern for lawful firearm owners. What this government is busy with is of concern to the entire community in South Africa. Essentially, they are busy seeking to propagate the ideology of the African National Congress with regards to private possession of firearms. And they are looking to make it applicable nationally and permanently. And if they succeed, they will bring about such a remarkable and devastating devolution of community safety and security in South Africa that every single person in this country will be impacted. Every person, unless we are talking about somebody who works in a lighthouse on the West Coast and he's got all the food he ever needs and he never needs to see another person again and he's got everything he needs, he might be okay. But every other single person would be impacted if this legislation is to come to pass. It will have an enormous effect on community safety and security. And I want to touch very briefly on the fact that it is not only the Firearms Control Bill, Act 60 of 2000, where they are seeking to push amendments through, but it is also the firearms regulations of the CIRA bill, PSIRA, CIRA. And that is what controls how security officers are able to access and deploy firearms in the course of their duties. So if they manage to bring this legislation to pass, it is going to cut across not only private licensed firearm owners, but also the security industry. So for those members of the public out there who think, oh, well, I don't own a gun, I don't have any plans to own a gun, it's not really my problem. It actually is your problem. Because one thing that you cannot step away from is that in your journeys around South Africa today, even if you traveled 5 kilometers from your house to work, at some point in that journey, your life has been made a little bit safer by a security officer with a firearm somewhere, even if he was just at a shopping center or a parking lot or on the road or wherever. So this is something that all citizens should be paying attention to and be very, very concerned about and involved in.
Okay.
Right. To answer your question about what is happening behind the scenes, Safe Citizen has on a number of occasions engaged with NEDLAC, that infamous organization that represents selected and privileged trade and industry partners and organizations like BUSA, Business Unity South Africa, who holds private meetings around national legislation. That same one, we have engaged with them on a number of occasions, asking them, you guys were blowing hot and cold, steaming last year in November and December about the Firearms Control Amendment Bill and how suitable it was, and literally how quickly it was going to be presented to Parliament.
Mhm.
And now you've gone silent. What's happening? What are you changing? Why do you need to change anything? And a number of leading questions like that. And we got a very off the cuff answer. In fact, it was a letter that had been sent to a number of other organizations in the firearms fraternity and organizations like Safe Citizen. And it was a cut and paste job. And essentially what they said was, we will tell you when we're ready. We are now going through the bill line by line, and we are analyzing it, and we will let you know. And we don't see the need to answer your questions now. You will find out in due course.
Oh.
So already that was a slap in the face to the public. And I want to digress for a moment. Why it's a slap in the face for the public, and this might have come out on our previous conversations, but I want people to hear this. The public in South Africa pays for this legislation or this attempt at changing the Firearms Control Bill 3 times. We pay the public servants who get salaries out of the national coffer first. We pay their salaries and their fancy officers and everything else while they are sitting designing legislation that is designed to negatively affect the safety and security of South Africans. That's the first time we pay. The second time we pay is when we have to brief lawyers to stand up and advise us on how to oppose this legislation. Then the third time we pay is, the third time we pay is when we need to go to court against the government.
Yes.
And the government takes our money to pay their lawyers to fight us to oppose legislation. So 3 times the public must pay for this ideology of the African National Congress to disarm the citizens of South Africa. In
Jonathan,
simple terms, yeah.
You mentioned when we discussed this, you mentioned that, or you raised some major concerns about the fact that NEDLAC has seemingly engaged with individuals or institutions that are not formally mandated government bodies. Can you maybe just expand on that and why that is potentially a problematic situation? What risks does that create for the integrity of the legislative process that's supposed to be followed?
The legislative process is completely devoid of any integrity. It is devoid of the principles of proper stakeholder engagement as are enshrined in the Constitution of South Africa. That document that is a darling of the current government, that has been held up as a model for all governments in the world. They're trampling on our Constitution. But essentially, within NEDLAC, once again, let me remind the viewers, please, at the risk of being boring, that organization that represents selected and privileged trade and industry, it does not represent you, the public. So what they are doing within NEDLAC, there is apparently a cluster, a department, some type of structure called Community CC. Now, I have tried to find out about this. I became aware of this because I got exposed to an email chain around a NEDLAC meeting, commission, inquiry with another commission, by the way, with BUSA, where they were discussing changes to the act that was presented or informally presented to a selected and privileged audience in December last year. And that community so-called structure, as far as I can understand, but I don't have any detail because I can't get any detail out of NEDLAC. There is a gentleman called Mr. Thembinkosi Josupu, who was very rude to one of the members of the United Firearms Forum. I won't give more detail than that, very rude and aggressive to him. and around the issue of Gun-Free South Africa being invited by this community forum within NEDLAC to come and sit in those meetings and speak on behalf of the public.
Well,
Gun-Free South Africa. Two of the shocking things that I heard, the laughable things, we know they're laughable. Anybody rationally around firearms understands they're laughable. One was firearm owners must be compelled to only use full metal jacket ammunition. They are not allowed to use hollow point ammunition. This was forwarded by Claire Taylor of Gun-Free South Africa. This poor woman doesn't understand that even in Unit Standard 119649, which is mandated by the South African Police Services, there are 3 types of ammunition that are presented there for lawful use: solid, frangible, and expanding. So we can leave that there. She also wants nobody under the age of 30 years to be able to get a competency to possess a firearm. So that is the type of input that NEDLAC was receiving on a national forum discussing national legislation from Gun-Free South Africa, while Safe Citizen, AfriForum, other civil rights organizations, Action Society, even if they would have been there, were excluded and locked out of the process.
So you've mentioned that you sent an urgent request for clarification, I think you said in March this year, and that they came back with a very off-the-cuff, almost middle fingerish kind of reply to that. Have you had more correspondence since then?
There's been another letter which was slightly more accommodating, but still telling me that we will find out when they're ready, but essentially, not in so many words, but essentially that's the bottom line. And as to my inquiries as to why Gun-Free South Africa was selected by NEDLAC, the community section of NEDLAC, to attend and nobody else, no response. To my questions, will NEDLAC invite Safe Citizen and other similar organizations to join Gun-Free South Africa at future discussions around this act, which apparently is being readied for presentation to Parliament? No response whatsoever. Now, we can also look at this pragmatically from a legal and a constitutional point of view. The more that they mess this up, actually, the better it is when this thing comes to court, if it goes to court. Because the court is duty-bound to consider the constitutional principles that are enshrined around stakeholder negotiation, stakeholder engagement, and public consultation. So the more that they are seen to trample on our constitutional rights, the better it will be when this thing comes to court. It does take us back to the point that all of us are spending a lot of time and money when we could be concentrating on trying to make a living in South Africa. We're spending time and money in busy preparing to fight our own government who wants to disadvantage all of us from a security and safety point of view.
What bothers me is that they don't really seem to care about that. They just seem to be steamrolling ahead, whatever the hell happens. That's the impression that I'm getting. So even if they know that the courts will frown at the way that they've skimmed on these the legalities of this process, it doesn't seem to bother them.
It doesn't bother them, Riaan, because they don't care. The ANC, and let's call it the ANC, and I can tell you something now, without a shadow of a doubt. If the DA was running the country and the DA was behaving like the ANC is around this legislation, I would be just as disapproving and dismissive of the DA. It has got nothing to do with the party, whether I like them or I don't like them. So, but the ANC answers only to the ANC. They do exactly as they please, particularly in the last 10 years. They have done in this country exactly what they like, when it suits them, how it suits them, to their own advantage. And the citizen in the street be damned, as far as I'm concerned. So they don't care. And yes, we
Yes.
can be concerned about it, but we need to remember the nature of the beast that we're dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty scary that the ideology seems to be overriding any form of common sense. Um, what more needs to happen to make politicians realize that South Africans, ordinary, everyday South Africans, are living their lives basically crime is almost a centerpiece in our lives. It's everywhere. It can happen anytime, anywhere, and it does so frequently with catastrophic results. And to still just want to forge ahead and fall in line with this. Let's be honest, this is very much an international trend of disarming civilian populations. It's not focused only on on South Africa. Even certain states in the US are having serious battles with this as we speak, their Second Amendment notwithstanding. So it's very much a trend. Um, it's just very disconcerting to realize how little they really care about the safety of their citizens. Um, if we look ahead, what would you say are the potential implications of this process for specifically lawful firearm owners in South Africa? And what should citizens be doing at this time to stay informed or even get involved before it's too late?
Yeah, and I think that I must support your statement that the global anti-gun agenda is far advanced and it is visible in many countries in the world. And the activists like Gun Free South Africa and the other anti-gun activists that move in and around South Africa are taking a page out of the book of the global anti-gun activists. Gun Free South Africa is a tiny little organization with very few friends and even fewer members, but they punch far above their weight class because they are a darling of the government.
Mm.
Professor Guy Lamb, I believe, is a criminologist. Dr. Guy Lamb, I
Yes.
believe, is a criminologist from Stellenbosch University. I have invited him to join me on panel discussions on community safety and security. Not available. I invited Claire Taylor, not available. Anybody else from Gun Free South Africa? Not available. Most recently, a Mr. Dean Peacock, who is connected to the Lancet Commission on Global Commission on Community Safety and Gun Violence, something like that, Lancet, Lancet, made an asinine suggestion that South African private firearm owners in South Africa should be charged a sin tax for possession of their firearms. I don't know if you heard about it. It was picked up by Clarence Ford from Cape Talk, who said he thought it was a good idea. I've contacted Clarence Ford. Safe Citizens contacted Clarence Ford, Cape Talk, the producer, the station manager at Cape Talk. We have written to Mr. Dean Peacock at Lancet and said, please come and debate your ideas with us in public, on any forum, on radio, on TV, at the Cape Town City Hall, if you like. We will meet you and debate you. Nothing, not even a reply. That is because they know that their position is indefensible. But they drop these things, these so-called bombs of information, into the mainstream media, who faithfully puts it out there, singing the government's song, supporting the government. I sent you a document, the Safe Citizen Critical Review on the US Surgeon General's advisory on gun violence and health, where the US Surgeon General in 2024 said to the American president, gun violence is a national health epidemic, we dissected that report and we showed it to be an absolute, excuse the pun, trumped up rubbish with no truth to it whatsoever. If that's happening at a high level from somebody like the US Surgeon General, who is an extremely powerful person in an extremely powerful nation, it's not difficult to understand how this stuff gets propagated amongst the ANC's echo chamber in South Africa. So to answer your question, Riaan, what can people do? What must people do? I was on Radio 786. I am every Wednesday night, Radio 786 in the Western Cape. It serves a specific community on the Cape Flats, which is a community that deals with an enormous amount of violence, where in fact the military has recently been deployed to try and help the police to deal with the violence in those areas. And I encouraged all of those people to join organizations like Safe Citizen. Not because it's going to make an enormous difference to their lives. Okay, I'm a member of Safe Citizen. Is Safe Citizen now going to post an armed guard outside my door, or is Safe Citizen going to secure my street? No. But what it will do is it will swell our numbers so that when we are engaging with and addressing the government on matters of community safety and security, we speak with ever more strength and representation of ordinary South Africans. Gun owners, the best thing that they can do is engage and involve fellow citizens, whether they own firearms or not. And unfortunately, if it just is kept to associations and organizations that represent gun owners, who all do a very good job in this environment, who all are putting money in and historically have put money into court cases to stand up to the government when it has to go to court. That's a very important role that the firearm owners associations play. And I'm not going to mention any of them because I will leave some out, and I don't want to do that because they all play an important role. But like your organization, Fortis, or the organization that you are allied to, they all do very good work in that space. But it is restricting the voice that's heard to people that own guns. It's got to get wider. It's got to involve more people. So my best possible member at Safe Citizen will be an 80-year-old granny who looks after 4 grandchildren when they come back from school, who knows what's going on in the street, and who has never owned a gun, and she becomes a member of Safe Citizen, and she talks to all the other grannies in all the other streets. We need to drive this thing into the community. It cannot be something that is only restricted to firearm owners. Why? Because the government knows that we don't like them. They know that we don't trust them, and they hate us. They want to disarm us. So they don't care what we have to say, as you've seen with the way that NEDLAC speaks to Safe Citizen. They don't care. They want us out of their hair permanently. They want us disarmed. So therefore, we need to engage with their voters. That's where we need to be.
Okay, I like that. Finally, just to summarize this, maybe in one sentence, are we looking at a transparent legislative process or no?
No, no. It is undercover. It is purposefully stacked against proper stakeholder engagement and proper public consultation. And under no circumstances can it be seen as open and accessible engagement process under any circumstances.
Okay. If you found this valuable, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Smash that bell icon for us so that you can get notifications of new videos coming out. And also share this with someone who needs to stay informed. These conversations matter, and staying informed is your first line of defense. If you're interested in any of the training offered under the Lone Operator Program, there's always a link in the description below. Check it out. We look forward to seeing you on a range one of these days.
Mm.
Jonathan, thank you so much for joining me and updating us on this vital process.
Thank you, Rion, to you and all of your viewers and everybody, their families, and everybody that they know. I wish you guys a safe and peaceful week.